Joining me right now is the mayor of Miami. He is a GOP presidential candidate, Francis Suarez, with me here on set. Mr. Mayor, great to see you.
Great to be with you, Maria.
Thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on your bid for the White House. How's the launch going?
It's going better than expected. The contributions are coming in, and I would ask people to go to my website, www.francissuarez.com. All we need is $1 from people to get on the debate stage. We're already meeting the polling threshold, so that's incredibly positive. And I think people are really excited about a message and a candidate who looks different, who may sound different, and is talking about what he's for as opposed to what he's against. We've constantly hearing the division and the divisiveness in this country, and I think what's refreshing about my candidacy is I was elected by 85% and reelected by 80% in a city that was predominantly Democrat before I got there. And now I've changed by 40 points to being Republican in the 5 years that I've been mayor. So it's an exciting turnaround story for Miami, which, as you've just talked about, is an exciting turnaround story for American cities.
Well, you've led this incredible recovery in Miami, and we've talked about it so much. So congrats on all of your success in Miami. But here's what President Trump says. Donald Trump, why would I allow people at 1% and 2% and 0% to be hitting me with questions all night? I don't think it's fair. Why would I want people on the debate stage who are not where I am? Trump is leading the field. He's 30 points above even Ron DeSantis, which is his closest competitor. How are you going to hold up?
Well, first of all, it's very early. And I think I've said I'd rather be unknown, at least at the beginning, and exciting than known and unexciting. And I think what's happened is a lot of the candidates who have been in for a while just haven't gotten any lift, haven't gotten any volume. They don't seem to be different. They don't seem to be inspiring. I think what I can do, and I think my candidacy will be inspiring, it will be uplifting. And I think it's going to be different. It's going to appeal to a different set of people. We can grow the party by bringing young people to the party, something that, Joe Biden won by 26 points, bringing people from cities. We just talked about a city in America. We can be bringing people from cities to the party, and also Hispanics, which constitute 20% of the country. For Republicans to have generational wins, you need to have Hispanics on Republican side.
Well, for sure. But I want to get your take on the issues that the American people care about.
Sure.
In addition to the economy, there's national security worries.
No doubt.
Okay, so we've got worries about China. We've got worries about the wide open border. On the China thing, now the Chinese Communist Party is setting up that spy center and potential troops, Chinese troops, 100 miles from Florida in Cuba. What are you going to do about that as commander-in-chief? And then you've got another 200,000 migrant encounters at our southern border last month alone. Mayor, Florida has been in the crosshairs of these border issues. You've got people coming from Cuba, but you also have people coming from the southern border.
Yeah, and I've been the only candidate talking about this for a while, since the July 11th spontaneous manifestations of a few years ago. I said, we can't take any options off the table. And look what's happened. We've created with Cuba, we've taken it from an ideological threat to now a national security threat, where you have not just a spy base, but what looks like will be a training center. I mean, this goes back to the Cold War and Russia trying to put nuclear warheads, in Cuba. We cannot allow, and a Suarez presidency will not allow Cuba to continue to become a national security threat. And it's not just Cuba, by the way. It's the entire hemisphere. The Biden administration has zero plan, zero coherent plan for the entire hemisphere. It used to be 3 socialist countries in Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. Now you have a rise of leftist governments in Mexico, Colombia, Brazil, Argentina, Bolivia, Chile. The list goes on. And that just creates more immigration pressure on our country, because China is inculcating poverty in our region, and we're doing nothing to stop it. Instead, we're giving China $1 trillion of our wealth in the form of our trade deficit and the IP that they're stealing on an annual basis. We need to bring that back, secure our supply chain, start making friends and having allies in our region to serve American interests instead of Chinese interests that are dominating our region.
So you're going to be tough on Xi Jinping. Are you ready to revoke the most favored nation trade status which Beijing enjoys?
Absolutely. We talked about this the last time I was on your show. I mean, this is crazy what we're giving them. I mean, we're giving them $1 trillion of our wealth every single year for free. and it's sad. They're holding hostage Taiwan, which is obviously producing 90% of our advanced semiconductors.
That's right.
I mean, that would affect everything from our phones to our cars to our weapons systems.
To our military, to the weapons, exactly.
So, I mean, it's very, very concerning.
The other issue we have to talk about is corruption, because people see corruption in plain sight. And I think that's why President Trump continues in the lead on the primary field, because people know what's being done is just not fair. You got former special counsel John Durham testifying on Capitol Hill yesterday. He detailed his report into the Trump-Russia collusion lie that was made up by his political opponent, Hillary Clinton. Here's Durham. Watch.
There were investigative activities undertaken or not undertaken here, which raise real concerns about whether or not the law was followed. There appear to be persons in the FBI who were central to opening the investigation that had rather strong views concerning then-candidate Trump.
So as we expected, it was all based on the FBI's bias against Trump. We're feeling it again right now, where the FBI is holding back important information to the House Oversight Committee about Joe Biden influence peddling. What are you going to do about it?
Well, first of all, I have a 9-year-old son, and so my 9-year-old son has said he will not lobby me. And the only thing he'll lobby me for is a puppy.
Yeah.
So American people can feel comfortable there. Look, we are at an all-time low in terms of the confidence that we should be having in our institutions. For a democracy to be successful, for it to thrive, we need to have confidence in our press. We need to have confidence in our law enforcement and judicial system. And we don't.
No.
And I think Democrats and people in the liberal media just don't understand why Republicans are so fed up. I think, to your point, part of the reason why the former president is doing well is because he's tapped into that anger, that distrust, that feeling of desperation. And I think that nothing's going to change unless a candidate comes along, inspires people, gives people a positive message, says, look, I'm going to restore faith and confidence in these institutions, but I'm going to do more than that. I'm going to create economic opportunity, generational economic opportunity for you and your children. We're going to confront China as a generational economic threat, as a national security threat. We're going to fix immigration once and for all. And we're going to fix our deficit, which is making the poor poorer in this country.
You waited before entering the race. Were you waiting to see what happens with Ron DeSantis? Because there was a lot of optimism around Ron DeSantis. And then he announced officially, and he lost a lot of oomph. Was that taken by you as a note to, okay, I have an opening?
I have to say that, for me, I was hoping that somebody would present the kind of message that I'm presenting. And I just didn't see somebody doing that. I didn't see someone who had generational experience at creating generational opportunities. I didn't see someone who had a positive, inspirational, and aspirational message.
It's a good answer, yeah.
I didn't see someone who could really appeal to all of these different demographics. Because I didn't see anyone that was doing that, I felt obligated, because I love this country, to get in.
Real quick before you go, we only have a couple of seconds here. Joe Biden does not have an economic growth plan. We know that. What's your plan to get the economy back?
I don't think he has any plan. But my plan is to balance the budget, and my plan is to focus on generational opportunities like technology, which is what we've done in Miami by creating the #1 tech economy in the country and the lowest unemployment in the country and highest wage growth.
Yeah, you're giving Silicon Valley a run for its money, that's for sure.
Oh, we're just getting started.
Mr. Mayor, great to see you.
Great to be with you.
Thank you so much, Mayor Francis Suarez. We'll be right back.